Hey there, this is Red Falcon. This is the 8th match of the 2022 Summer War Game Red Dragon Micro Deck Tournament Series. With me today is my co-host Trout. And today we have the Fish Republican Army versus the Baddies. We have the Fish Republican Army on Team Red, and we have the Baddies on Team Blue. So Trout, the guy words this map before we get into it.
I am, as always, it seems, stoked on this match. Once again, I am in this match, so maybe I'm not as objective as I should be, but it was a fun match to play, interesting match to play. Um, you can see it straight to the point, which is a very interesting map, and that it very much favors the town fighting on the India Gulf side of the map. And we'll really see how that develops in this match, as well as it has the option of Alpha, which is in this case, with two marine decks, it means it'll be a very contested point, and it will be a place where there'll be a lot of action. So we're going to have a lot of action on the flanks, and it should be a fun and interesting match.
For sure. Yeah, looking at the kind of the discrepancy and the amount of fielded units. So hopefully it looks like somebody else will be going airborne, and that maybe he'll be able to kind of swing the match from the air.
This is a very interesting match. When I saw the map and I saw the decks that were chosen, I knew that there would be some issues. So this is an airborne deck, a marine deck, and an armor deck versus a mechanized deck, a marine deck, and an armor deck. Now, the issue with the mechanized deck in Blue 4 is it's a Korean mechanized deck, so it has very high ability of
Oh,
tier
that
1
oh,
tanks.
that's not the mechanized deck. That's that it's the Marines.
Yes, the marine deck. My apologies if I misstated that.
All good, all good.
So it's similar to actually fighting like two mechanized decks and an armor deck at the same time, which is a very interesting challenge simply by the volume of tanks that will come out in this match. So we can expect some interesting tank fights, and with a very air-focused FRA, we can expect some use of air assets to try to control and contain the massive tanks that will be coming towards the FRA.
Absolutely. All right. Uh, you ready to count down then?
Absolutely.
All right. Three, two, one, play. And they're off. So looks like we got Navy tuna starting up over here with T-80A and a Tunguska M. And there's limited amounts of recon. Um, hmm. That leaves some questions. Right. Oh, and then also Navy has looks like to be a small force heading out towards India as well. We're getting the first engagement. Two tornadoes have been downed at the cost of a MiG-29. We got the KF-16 Block 52D coming in. Will it get the hit? Nope, it gets out. Narrowly gets out.
With the benefit on the Blue 4, being able to pull some fairly good planes in all of their decks for fairly cheap. Uh, you think, well, an air deck, like a good Soviet air deck, it's going to do a lot, but those Blue 4 decks can pull some very good ASF.
Oh yeah, the Block 52D it's primarily it technically is listed as a seed aircraft, but more or less it's actually more of an ASF related than it is actually a seed weapon. It just happens to be an ASF that carries a seed missile.
We're about to get a very interesting encounter on India Gulf. So FRA has pushed in, and they pushed into the far side, which is a good aggressive move. Um, However, the baddies have a very good density of infantry fighting vehicles and tanks, so it's going to be relatively unsupported infantry versus a lot of armor and support vehicles.
And those Bradleys are coming in and they're firing their missiles too. They are definitely making a contribution in this fight. And looks like a lot of your units, Trout, a little bit of somebody else's, have all bunkered inside of this forest, making it really difficult to fan out from at this point. So here comes Navy Tuna's second MiG-25 RBT. Narrowly escapes with 1 hit point, but destroying a lot of vehicles in the process, or damaging a lot of them. Yep, so it looks like a lot of the Bradleys that were over there got wiped out by the MiG-25. And now we see the Korshans trying to fight against these chieftains that are advancing onward. Unfortunately for the Korshans, they're panicked though, bringing their accuracy down to about 25%.
Yes, and in that little forest like that, there's really nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. You can't really get out of there.
Yeah, and if there was any like artillery, you could have been able to smoke your way out of there. But without smoke, you're gonna have a tough time advancing out in the open without getting shot to getting shot to hell. So you gotta make 20 Su-24M coming in, dropping a large number of bombs, and it's downed. But despite the bombing run, it has not completely halted the units here. There's still two M1A1s and a couple of infantry and IFEs hanging around.
Definitely slowed it down into a kind of a line fight until some more assets can be built up.
And it looks like we missed
But
it, but there was a platoon of T-80As that tried advancing over the bridge, and it looks like they got shot up by the K1s over here. And at the same time, we still don't have a command for Delta, it looks like, but we also don't have a command for Charlie. So it's kind of interesting to see that both teams kind of are lacking their command units right now. So Trout, we see you trying to cross the open field here, but the Green Jackets are opening fire. The squad's halfway down by the time it gets into the building. And the Green Jackets are still calm. And we see you starting to pull in a artillery piece now. And a second one.
I will say, for the baddies, they've also thought of the same thing. They're playing K9 Thunder onto the field, and that is a very nice, I do believe, quick fire artillery piece.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Another bomber just got downed, it looks like. And I think that was the final card of the Su-24M. So one card has now been eliminated from the fight before barely over 5 minutes over into it.
Yeah, that's a pretty costly loss, and it makes it very, very difficult to counter any pushes at this point. Is that the cluster bomber, or is that specifically the general bomber?
The general bomber. Su-24M is the general bomber. And looks like
Okay.
we're starting to see some action over by Alpha. We see Serenia else's MiG-29 trying to do some swipes over here at the UH-1H.
I will point out a very nice use of the Lafayette and the Bonbu. So they have two commands over in Alpha, so it kind of doubles up the redundancy there and make sure that, even if the Lafayette gets sunk, there still is a command. That point is still contested, and they still are maintaining that, right what they have right now, which is a +3 bleed.
Oh yeah. And we see the K9 Thunderin starting to prep its shots in.
Well, you can also see those Tokchon 130s prepping their shots.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yep. And there they are.
Really nice move with the Fusiliers. So, they're almost dead, but those Fusiliers were very quickly moved within the Geogokdai's building.
Yeah, yeah. Close quarters.
And the area that's being targeted is the area they were in. And so it sort of renders the artillery that was called to support the Geogokdai not only inefficient, but actually targeting the Geogokdai as well to some extent.
Oh yeah. We got the RBT coming in again. And we might get a kill. And nice. Took out the Chaparral and the Abrams that was back here. Good bombing run.
I will. Uh, kind of nice move by Godstam. There's another IHawk coming up to the front line. So there'll be two IHawks kind of guarding that India Gulf area. And that will be a very strong deterrent to future air raids and future air supremacy over that area.
Oh, absolutely. So we see your Jonghyo coming in, and we see Navy Tuna's 27K coming in alone. It's firing a missile, but one missile will not be enough to breach those anti-ship defenses. Your Jonghyo's firing some missiles as well, but having a tough time getting through. I believe he said something along the lines that you forgot to turn off the anti-ship missile on this ship, right?
Yes, so this is something I actually learned. I'm not much of a Navy fighter. I don't do a lot of ship fighting.
Mhm.
And just having that anti-ship missile off so you can conserve it and use it when you need it is something that I actually worked on and learned through this match, and you'll see the result of that. Sometimes you end up learning in action, and that is how it goes.
Yep.
I will point out at this point on Gulf and India, there are some geogoctides forming a secondary line of defense. With those bridges contested, with potential recon in that area, it becomes more and more dangerous to push vehicles up where they can get hit by tanks, side shots, quick shots, and very much more dangerous to push infantry across the bridges, in my opinion, for what it's worth. Looking over the map really quickly, one of the things I can say is the recon that's put out right now by the baddies is excellent. They've got recon assets along their whole front line. They've got a variety of different kinds of recon assets, and that is a very strong bonus to be able to see where the opponent is, see where the units are moving, and really keep a track of, where's safe, where isn't safe, where you can potentially use as an exploit, to move into the enemy territory. So,
Oh yeah.
very nice use of recon. Comparatively, on the FRA side, we have 2 recon helicopters, and that is the recon. 3, I lied, 3 recon helicopters.
Don't want to forget about that third one.
That third one, that is going to make all of the difference because it's sitting out.
Ooh!
For...
Oh! The 27M is down! Oh, that hurts! The god has been dethroned. Oof. Oh, you really hate to see when 27M gets down by anti-air.
As I mentioned, having those 2 IHawks in place, having the combination of Chaparrals, Stormer HEVs, and then radar missiles, makes it a very, very nice, solid anti-air net that really keeps the baddies safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, there just wasn't a lot of recon over here, and just too many places to conceal anti-air, and something else just rolled the dice and rolled bad. And sometimes that's just how it is.
I will point out that with the lack of efficient air bombing and air cover, artillery is going to become fairly important, and we can see on both sides the K9 Thunders and the Tokchons are beginning an artillery duel. Very World War I.
But that was a solid bombing run from Navy Tuna, having wiped out that entire platoon of M2A1s, Bradleys. And we see you starting to build up a number of ships over here as well.
At this point in the match, it became fairly clear that there was a danger on Alpha of being just outnumbered and losing control of that corridor, which makes it much harder to pull planes in because you got to be very careful about pulling them in over Kilo, otherwise they'll immediately fly in over an anti-air net. And so at this point, I decided it was very important to start building up a little bit more in terms of the Navy assets, just to ensure that we maintain the corridor into Juliet.
Yeah. And we're starting to see somebody else sending in some seaplanes to kind of harass these ships.
Uh,
And it's
One thing to
out.
point out
What?
is that when you're using seaplanes, you may wish to use them together because on their own they are a fairly easy target against that many ships.
Oh, for sure. And
And that's your team coordination, and that's you got to talk to your teammates and make sure things are lined up.
oh yeah, it's definitely for those of you that have seen some of my other YouTube videos. I do go over how to conduct an anti-ship strike. I usually never recommend having your bombers exposed. Send out like a front cheap ASF or something with a lot of ECM for an ASF to help draw the missile fire on the from the first volley of missiles that will come at your bombers. Because the ASF tend to be a lot more plentiful than bombers or strike aircraft. Um, this should nominally help keep your bombers alive or strike aircraft alive. And you want to bring all your planes together as a group. Like hold down shift, click all the planes, and then set up your angle of attack and then go in for it. But piecemealing your planes one at a time is a good way to lose every single one of them.
I will point out with the deck selections in this map, this is a very good map to have lots of mechanized assets and lots of infantry assets. And on the baddie side, that's what we see. They are very heavily invested in the Gulf and reasonably invested into India as well. Lots of anti-air assets, lots of infantry, and lots of armored vehicles.
Looks like the BR-1K and the Bradley are having a little shootout. Check this out. But the Cobra comes in and taps the difference.
If we head out to Alpha, we can see a fairly good ship battle. We've got some burning ships, a couple Pohangs out there on fire, and a couple Lafayettes trying to push in and take out some
Oh,
Jangus.
here we go.
This in this match was my favorite part of the match, and that was it was a very good large naval battle, and it was a lot of fun to fight and a lot of fun to play, and I learned a lot from it as well.
Interesting choice. Bubbles decided to turn tail and fall back out here. Interesting, because the Lafayettes do outrange your Jiangyus, but only by about 500 meters. And I see artillery coming in, trying to damage some of these ships.
I'm wondering if we just missed the death of the last RBT. An RBT came in, it was over Charlie, and I don't know if it got out or not. So we'll see if that was indeed the last RBT or if there's going to be more of them coming out throughout the
Oh
match.
yeah. Now we see two anti-ship missiles coming in, and not a single one got through. Unfortunately for Navy tuna, taking this 27 SK or taking 27K does not yield a lot of results with only two of the ships or two of the planes. The numerical availability just isn't there to break this many ships anti missile defenses.
I will mention something I hadn't really noticed. So both deck layouts only take one fob, so we actually only have one fob on each side. So there is no very heavy supply advantage in terms of fobs on either the FRA or the baddie side.
But there is
Um,
Munas that you have and that they have as well, it looks like. They have
yes,
a LCU and you have a Muna.
and I guess I wouldn't underrate those the HEMTs. The American supply vehicles carry a lot of supplies, and those will definitely come into play in terms of resupplying the front line and keeping things in fighting order.
Oh yeah, 2,400 liters of supplies will keep a whole tank platoon fully topped off. Oh, we got a direct hit on the BMP 1K from Navy Tuna over by India.
Interesting point in the match. So the baddies have very successfully captured their side of the bank on India and Gulf. They've got infantry forward to the front lines and are starting to bring armored vehicles up to the woods. At this point, they have a very strong defensive position in those areas, and let's wait to see how long it takes them to build an offensive capacity to get over the river and start fighting on the other side if they choose to do so.
Hmm. Oh, and looks like we have some Super Hornets coming in. Will 4 anti-ship exocets be enough, or not exocets, harpoons be enough to break through? One down, no hit. Narrowly escaped without getting a missile in. And that was with 4 missiles. And looks like Bubble is being forced to relocate to avoid continually being shelled. It looks like Trout. Looks like Gotts is spotted where your artillery is about, so you could expect some counter battery from the K9 Thunders.
Made them a much harder target to counterbat because you see 3 different spots and you have a chance to hit one. So really, really, really solid use of relocation and fire and move, fire and relocate for Bubble Bathist on K9 Thunders.
Oh, but you're also relocating your Chalk Charms as well. And it looks like you just made those coordinates obsolete by moving.
I will say at this point I am feeling a little bit alone on the map. In Gulf, the front line is Yagaktai, and over in Delta, the front line is Yagaktai, and over in Alpha, the front line is my ships. So it is a
A really
you
bold
know when
maneuver.
you're
Sorry, saw a very bold maneuver by Autumn to try and take out some of the planes, but they lost both their anti-ship Super Hornets.
and that is a pretty big loss because those are decently heavy hitters, and combined with a good naval rush, that's something that can really change the naval battle.
Yeah.
So I have learned.
Sorry to have interrupted you.
Please do if you see something that's important. I love to hear it.
Sure, sure, sure. So we saw Serena's pull as 25T, but the moment I think it was like an anti-air missile hit into it, it had enough and just went home, which is fair.
All right, we have an exciting renewal of
Yep, the
combat on the
missiles are
sea.
away. One missile has hit the Jianghu.
May see a casualty. This looks problematic.
Another missile in. And boom! And the Jianghu is down. She's sinking.
Apparently, a noob has learned a lesson about how to sail ships.
Oh yes, I think that was your lesson there, Trout. We just saw it live.
The pain and the humiliation. Oh
Oh
boy.
yeah. So we see somebody else trying to get some little payback for the Jianghu with the seed plane here, but unfortunately there was no really breaking that.
Oh, and some T-80Us on India right now. They are taking side shots, and they are taking a lot of damage. Two of them are down to 1 health bar, so that is a very, very successful repulsion of some T-80Us trying to advance and get some fire down onto the far side of India.
Yeah, this is one of those places where I think it would have been more advantageous for Navy to go where BRM-1K is and just stay right in there. Any tanks that would have been able to fire at them would have been met with their missiles first.
Very lucky withdrawal in any case. 1 point on two of those T-80Us, and that's a very, very expensive asset. A very, very nearly killed.
And the K9 Thunders and the mortars are raining in for the payback. They want those T-80Us dead. But the Challenger 1 Mark III is falling back and looks like a mortar was there to provide some smoke. And the smoke basically would have diffused the combat had it gone on any longer anyways. And we see a UDT SEAL coming into Alpha, trying to capture the Commandney command. And it was shot down before I had a chance to get away. Taken out by light arms, small arms. So Trout, it looks like they have your ZTS 63-2 spotted by what I'm guessing is the green jackets. Oh, and the Block 52 is going in, and Navy is trying to retaliate with 27Ks, taking out the Block 52D.
Oh, and those Ihawks, there's 3 of them now sitting in a forest in a clump just outside of Gulf, and that is a very strong disincentive to getting too close to India and too close to the front line.
Hmm.
One of those things you look back on it and say, that is a beautiful artillery target. I wish I would have noticed. It's even being pinged by Navy, so.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's just an attack marker, and there's been attack markers placed over the map over several times.
Well, we'll see if I catch on.
Oh yeah.
Those touchdowns are winding up, and hopefully they will disrupt that anti-air.
Let's see what we got.
I will say, the baddies are doing a very good job building up a defensive front line, spreading out, getting good recon out, bringing different assets up that support each other, and really working on kind of creating a layer of defense and a layer of usable assets so they can move forward to attack when they want to. So it's just building up that mass and building up that, strength, essentially, to go out and do an attack successfully, push where they need to, defend where they need to.
Oh yeah. It looks like artillery is hammering in on that Chieftain Mark II, which is certainly a target.
A target, but probably not the most important target.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, those 35-point tanks with like 9 frontal armor are not necessarily like the highest priority targets for high explosive artillery, unfortunately.
And here we go. The artillery is finally landing where it needs to, and it's hitting the forest where all the anti-air is.
And it's raining steel on Gotts. And he's doing an evac to get out of there. And they got one, and one anti-air was consumed in the artillery barrage. But it's still raining steel, so it's not over for them yet.
Now, I've forgotten my bad joke. You'll have to help me remember. Something with Corsons, Geogoctides, and helicopters. I totally forget. Oh, God. Very embarrassing.
Unfortunately, I forgot to.
Oh!
Oh, wow! The Stormer took out 3 Mi-8s that were clustered together!
Wow, it's like, you're not supposed to cluster your helicopters.
Yeah.
That is, wonder who did that.
Certainly nobody with a high amount of skill.
Well, that's a very large assumption, a high amount of skill, and yours truly, so.
Well, no problem, no problem. I just poke at you. All right. Well, let's see what we got here. We got some MiG-31M doing combat air patrol over Juliet, and more of the same seed saturations to harass the ships in Alpha.
It looks like we have an attack launching at India, so we'll see kind of what's pulled together and how this goes through. Lots of assets scattered, lots of tanks, lots of infantry, and 20 VDP-90 standing in the way. Smoke is down, the units are going forward to the bridge.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the Warrior Milan or the Bradleys are amphibious, so they are forced to cross the bridge if they want to make it across. I will say that is kind of like one of the weaknesses of like a lot of Blue 4 mechanized units is that they aren't amphibious.
And in some ways, the smoke is not playing to their favor. As they get in close, those VDP-90 get very easy shots and are able to just pot shot them at point blank range and kill them very successfully.
Indeed. And the T-80U, it looks like it got side-shotted. Yep, that was a broadside hit. T-80U is trying to come down to slope for some reason, but they are better off on top of the plateau, they realize.
All right, and that is a successfully repulsed attack. I would not have imagined it would be successfully repulsed by 16 VDV-90. However, that smoke actually
There
plays in
was
VDV-90's
20.
favor.
There was 20.
4 casualties for how many tanks?
A lot.
Oh, Su-25T down.
Oof.
That is a painful loss. And damage to both the MiG-29 and the other Su-25T. Well, these little cap tanks that can, the ZTS-632, are attempting to do their best to fight the Warrior Milans or the Abrams, and not lasting very long, but definitely getting a few side shots in.
Yeah, when you're captain, that's about all you can really do, eh?
That's about it. Yeah, I mean, you really, at the end of the day, you're outperformed by a lot of IFVs, so...
We got another 25T coming in. One tank out.
Kind of a dangerous run, given the raw amount of anti-aircraft in that area, and We'll see if it makes it out.
Narrowly getting out. It's going to be in repairs for a minute. Hard to say
I will
exactly what
say,
it was, but I believe that might have been a Challenger.
really nice job on the baddies for keeping supply up to their anti-air units and up to their units in general. Lots of Hemmets and lots of stalwarts coming forward to just keep everything firing, and for that amount of aircraft coming in, it's definitely good to keep the disincentive up.
Interesting to see that the Mistral has been deployed over on this island over here in Alpha. That's going to disincentivize a lot of Cerny Alice's operations over that island.
Very, glad you pointed that out. Throughout the match, this was a concern, and it was a concern about one single unit, essentially, down on an island in Alpha that was just enough of a disincentive to keep active air operations out of that area. Not the biggest, not the nastiest, just some man pads, but it was enough. So nice placement by Vol Bathist of getting that anti-air up onto the island.
Sometimes that's all you need is just one anti-air unit in the right spot to do the trick.
Interesting little scouting maneuver by Vol Bathist as well here, over just outside of Delta, dropping some infantry down into the forest by the command helicopter.
Seals have landed, it looks like.
And they have a oh, they have a good view on that command helicopter, so they are going in for the kill. The Navy battle is restarting. At this point, I'm getting to pull more Terran tools and start picking up that Navy stack of Navy assets, and Vol Bathist wants to counter that early and is coming in for a kill.
Looks like a 27K got downed. Alright, looks like Navy 2 is finally sending in some anti-ship missiles. And one of the pole hanks is downed.
Not the biggest kill, but that's definitely a start.
We got 4 anti-ship missiles inbound. Looks like going for one of the pole hanks. All of them got downed. Oh, and another one got through and sunk. Another pole hang.
Kind of a nasty spot, very close to their Pohang, so definitely a little bit of splash damage there, I think.
Oh, and another one! We have witnessed the sinkings of 3 Pohangs.
Nice coordination there. Nice job to Navy bringing those MiGs or those SUs, bringing the anti-ship missile planes in to just help take out a few extra ships and definitely turn the tide in that naval fight.
Absolutely.
No pun intended. Turn the tide.
Oh. Oh, we see Autumn's Storm HVM trying to snipe out your MI-1 helicopter over there, it looks like.
Very smart move. Those Stormer HVMs have an extremely long range for a anti-helicopter, anti-air unit, and they are very nasty for doing exactly what they're being used to do right now.
And we see 2 Mistrals having took out a seed plane over Alpha, it looks like.
Oh.
These Mistral infantry are causing your team a lot of grief, it seems. And so much so that Cerny Alice has marked them out for warning.
So at this point in the map, interesting to see both fobs are empty, and there's a lot of empty supply trucks. So both teams will be feeling a little bit of a supply crunch, as there really isn't all that much left to resupply artillery and resupply anti-air units. Tactically, I like to see that on the baddies, they are trying to expand out and push a small amount of forces up into the far side of Gulf, just to see if there's an opening, just to see if there's somewhere else they can push in, surround, and cut things off from.
And it looks like Godsam has secured one of the bridges on top of the plateau behind Gulf. And that's going to open up another front for the team that's finally on the other side of the river.
back to the Navy fight on Alpha.
Looks like we
We
see
have 4 ships left.
yeah, looks like we see several ship missiles engaging, and the guns are going off, trying to damage one of the Tarantuls, it seems.
Interesting to see, it's been between a +3 and a +1 point lead for the baddies throughout the match, and that's just been enough to kind of stack up to about 563 points with 20 minutes left, and that is a very, very solid lead.
Absolutely. And so it looks like the K9 Thunders were artillerizing some of your units over behind Gulf. Once they realized that you had some stuff over there, the K9 Thunders started hammering in. And it looks like he's seeing some hefty losses there.
It's one of those things where there's only so much attention you can pay. When there's a big old ship battle going on, you don't pay as much attention to your portal infantry's on the front line sometimes.
Absolutely. But looks like you had enough attention span to check out these FV432Ms, and you are beginning to provide battery fire on the mortars. Having realized
Absolutely.
this, the Autumn is looking to try to get them out of there.
The lighter mortars are very nice for that. They have a large ammo capacity. They can keep on firing for a very long time without resupply. Not the most damage in the world, but they're there and they're constantly kicking out, and that is worth something.
Looks like back to the ship battle. We see some missiles flying. Not very many, though. Just one Tarantul, looks like.
Interesting to see a little bit of probing by Autumn into Delta, so pushing some chieftains across.
Looks like you start
Been
turning off
marked
your
by me.
anti-ship missiles. Sorry. What?
And we'll just see what happens to these chieftains as they push into Delta.
Oh. Ooh. I think that Quotient got a rear shot.
A bunch of K1s pushing up now as well. Just a coordination thing where sometimes you want to push assets up, and the chieftains did provide a good screen to see what was up there and say, there's not much shooting back at us, so now the K1s go in. But it also gives warning, so assets can be mobilized and response can be prepared.
And also, it looks like that sending out the chieftains actually expended some of your missiles. But Cerny Owls, hopefully he can change the tide here. The 25D comes in and knocks out one of the K1s, forcing Bubble to withdraw from the advance, realizing that they have no effective heavy amounts of anti-air being deployed in the area besides a Mistral.
That's interesting in this match. With the excellent anti-air over Gulf and India, it's interesting to note that over Charlie, there isn't the most protection and there isn't the most coverage. There's no IHawks, so there's no long-range anti-air Raider missiles in that area at all.
Yes, it's almost like the most obvious area to assault is the one that nobody wants to defend. Or at least not very heavily.
Navy Tuna in Gulf. So Navy Tuna is attempting to ford a bridge down in Gulf. Some TADUs. One just lost to a side shot.
Oh, and another side shot from a Bradley.
Yes, very nasty side shots from a recon Bradley with some.
And the Harrier knocked out both Tunguska M's. That is not an easy card to replace. That means that.
Oh, one more TADU down. So still exposing rear armor at this point to the Bradleys.
And the missile narrowly flies over.
This will be very painful if this last missile connects and those TADUs get hit rear-shotted.
Will it hit? It hits the frontal armor.
Flipped around just in time. Those poor mortar Strelki, they have jumped out and they are alone with no artillery support, no helicopter support, no air support, and no tank support in a kill zone.
Yep. That's when you drop your gun and you raise your hands and hope that they don't shoot. Holy shit. Absolutely devastating. Navy tuna over here using a T-80U to go on a lone mission. For what purposes, I will not understand.
I've missed it. There has been some action over on the Alpha front. So the ships have gone out, and there has been 2 more ships sunk up there. It's down to 2 Lafayettes. That is all that is on Alpha now.
And Navy's T-80U was taken out by Rifleman 90. You hate to see it. Autumn over here pushing a platoon of Challenger 1 Mark IIIs to try to hold off any other forward coming attacks.
Interesting small little attack. So Bull Bathurst, while there was some distraction from the tanks, the K1s trying to cross into Delta, attempted to move some infantry across and do an amphibious assault into the forest at Delta. Really good flexibility, trying something different when a path that you expect to be defended is not, and you look like there's a weak spot you can move into.
Yep.
Unfortunately for those Heibyungs, there are a lot of Motostrelki and a lot of Giagocti that don't want them there.
Yep. Too bad that the ships couldn't make it in to support them. But it looks like Bubble's trying to go around the islands and avoid your force of ships at this point.
All right, Autumn is continuing some reconnaissance in force, pushing some challenges forward into Gulf just to see what's there and kind of see what they run into. And seeing that there is some nasty resistance, pushing back. Also, Autumn pushing some green jackets forward up into towards Delta Echo. Very good reconnaissance in forest, just once again seeing what's actually there. I really like Autumn's play in this match. I really like that being willing to push, cheaper units forward, see what's there, and pull them back as needed. How else do you know what's out there sometimes?
Absolutely. Sometimes you just gotta have one unit to go out and do a little scouting. Preferably something expendable, but, to do scouting.
I'm trying to keep half an eye back on these 2 Lafayettes. They are both, one of them is at XSS and Crotals, and the other one has 2 XSS left, so they are fairly unarmed, except for their main cannons, and it'll be interesting to see how they do in a naval fight.
And looks like the missiles did not have a breakthrough. The Super Hornets are coming in, trying to sink one of the Jiangyus. They might have had more luck trying to go after one of the Tarantuls.
Definitely trying to go for that fire target, and there's just a lot of Sea-Wiz coming up and knocking those missiles out of the air.
Oh, one missile, anti-ship missile hit the Lafayette. Another one! Another one broke through and sunk the Lafayette.
This is the mission of the last Lafayette. We'll see what happens to it.
No
I think it
Crotals,
is a,
only guns.
Once again, an attack from Autumn going into Gulf, very nicely supported. There are multiple groups of challengers,
And
and
the Lafayette is downed.
oh, and I missed it. I catch the end of it. I see it sinking. Some satisfaction in that.
And you managed to secure naval supremacy after 47 minutes.
A little bit late to take advantage of it, I think, but there it is.
Yeah.
I will point to Gulf right now. Autumn is doing a series of light raids, just kind of seeing what's out there. Very well supported by challengers, very well supported by mortars, and able to, get some successful fire down on the Giagocti, make them feel some pain, get some casualties there.
Oh, yeah. Gotsam coming in with a platoon of M1A1s to reinforce those Fusiliers, it looks like. And it always kind of interests me because, like, typically for like red 4 doctrine, it's usually like 3 tanks to a platoon. For blue 4, it's typically a platoon is 2 sections of 2 tanks each, and so you get 4 tanks to a platoon.
Well, apparently we have some blue 4, red 4 tank platoons.
Oh yeah.
That might get a little bit confusing, but I think I can work with it.
Oh yeah.
I will say, Red, I've got to point out the usage of smoke to mask the advance of those challenges.
Yep. And
Something I
it's
think.
kind of limiting the angle of fire that they'll be engaged by, which I think is interesting. And Autumn feels it's okay to go past that while the Fusiliers are engaging. And it gives the challengers enough time to rotate the frontal armor towards the Geobacte. And thankfully, to the use of smoke, it prevented your ZTS 63-2 being able to fire any missiles, provided if it had any, but closing that distance meant it was going to be forced to use the gun.
And all those little bits of probing, all the little advances, just a few things to see what's there, and now we have enough momentum and enough units to really push in and begin contesting contesting that far side of the river. So, nice, patient, probing attacks, nice use of artillery, and a nice successful attack into Gulf. I don't think there's a lot of heavy artillery left. I think those K9 Thunders are pretty much at the bottom of the barrel. They're being saved for a special day or for special occasion.
Yep. The Tarantul has finally made it through, and all the ships are firing on the quad stack of Challenger 1 Mark IIIs that just came in. And they managed to sink a Tarantul.
I think you will see these challengers very successfully sink several Tarantuls.
Oh, wow.
So this is probably inexperience on my part. I figured the Tarantuls will have big enough guns to chew up the challengers, and
Ooh,
they did not.
and another Tarantul.
They did not.
Yeah, the Tarantul's using a 76mm gun, using primarily high explosive rounds. Whereas the Challengers are using APFS-DS and fancy stuff for their 120mm cannon. It's essentially no contest for them.
I will point out, very, very interesting. I hadn't noticed this. I hadn't realized it had happened in the game to a large extent. Bubble Bathis has successfully infiltrated some seals to the very far side of the map behind Hilo.
Where there's some supply trucks hanging out. Yeah. Huh.
So a very nice wide flank and a very good use of a bit of patience and a bit of scouting, and definitely give them an interesting angle to see if they can take advantage of.
I mean, even if nothing else, they're a pair of eyes for medium optics. And there you go. At this point, you resign to provide your team with more units.
In retrospect, looking back on this, I think that may have been a mistake, but given that I had a lot of the infantry and a lot of the units that had been holding the fight, and a lot of the ships that could have perhaps re-engaged the naval fight, may not have been the best choice, but it was a choice.
For sure.
There's a pretty critical moment in a lot of these matches. If a player has to surrender, it definitely gives their team a little bit of momentum. The dangerous thing is then it also means that when the other team player surrenders, they get to respond to that momentum. I will point out a desperate landing of some Geogocti and a command unit in Bravo. Unfortunately, the command unit was shot down in the helicopter and was not able to capture Bravo.
Oh, that is sad.
And that was intended to line up with my surrenders. Would have given my team points to pull through Bravo at that point, and unfortunately that did not happen.
Looks like a
That being said,
Jianghu 3 against quad stack of Challengers.
and you may see some challengers sink a Jianghu. I'm not sure, but that may happen. I will say, really nice use of assets as well. K1s are still back around Bravo, so even though some Gigocta have landed, there are lots of strong assets there to counter that and to prevent that from really going anywhere.
Meanwhile, it looks like the Bonbu are trying to shoot somebody else's command helicopter that's flying in what looks to be Bravo.
It's not very often that you see a command-on-command fight. I think with the command helicopters, the disadvantage will be the fact that they don't have weapons. So.
Oh wait, no, it's landing in Alpha. On the far side on theirs? I mean, I guess you can, but I'm not sure why you would choose the far side. Like, I don't understand that there's units over on a small island, but you'd think that they could be dealt with, right?
You know, sometimes the fog of war leads to people choosing to land things where they can land them.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose.
That Django's down to 3 bars, so it's definitely not doing too well. I'll point out as well that the attack into Gulf is slow, but they're bringing lots of assets forward and very successfully, slowly pushing through that town.
Oh wait, oh wait, are we gonna see it? Oh, another hit on
Oh,
the Zhangyu.
gotta stop and watch this poor Django get torn to pieces by challengers.
Oh, radio operator killed. Come on, do it.
K1's coming in to try to give some support to this kill,
And that,
and there we
there
go.
it is. Look at those Charlies
Yes,
doing work.
you can sink a warship with tanks.
Yep, don't underestimate tanks. They can sink ships.
I will say overall in this match, just a volume of not
Ooh,
the best tanks in the world,
uh,
but good tanks has made a big difference.
yeah. And another.
And if you're wanting to watch an attack, there's an attack going into Foxtrot right now.
Oh, there we go. M1A1s, K1s, T80As, T80Us.
Now at this point, I had talked to Tuna, and essentially, you know, with the command wiped out in Bravo and nothing yet pulled there, although you can see it's coming, I said the only chance you have to slow it down and to prevent one of them surrendering and giving a point lead to their team, not a point lead, but a reinforcements lead, is to go in and try to kill that command and hotel.
Yep.
A little bit too little, too late. You know, with only 5 minutes left and the points where they are, but a valiant effort and a valiant attack by Tuna.
We shall see if we get like a Pyrrhic victory by securing hotel.
I will point out that Gulf now has successfully been taken. They've successfully invested infantry all throughout that little town. They pushed armor out to kind of patrol and check the area out around it. I think the only thing that's really missing up there is forward reconnaissance, but they do have a Bradley kind of in the back, looking around for Gigacti in the bushes.
Will he make it all the way to hotel and cut off the reinforcements? Let's see. Challenger 1 Mark III's being engaged down to low health.
I think these AH-1Ts will make the difference. They're really doing some damage, they're really knocking stuff out, and really slowing things down.
And there's no more anti-air left with Tuna's bush here.
T80U killed by a side shot. Gots had a very good response to that, bringing the Bradleys up from the backside, and the Bradleys from the backside really finished that off, just engaging with our ITOs in rear shots and side shots.
Yep,
And that really ended the
on
argument.
all angles of attack. They completely encompassed that attack, leaving Serenialis to hold the bill for the next couple minutes.
Once again, an interesting choice. Serenialis, this game pulled mostly air units in the deck, so you will see a lot of air units come out in the next 3 minutes, but I don't think air units will hold the ground, so...
Looks like he's got 3 MiG-31Ms, but unfortunately the lad only has 9 planes in his airport panel. All right, so we see some seed coming in, and we're actually starting to see some anti-air getting taken out. While the IHawks was thinned out. You know, it kind of makes me wish that I saw seed planes flying over here earlier in the match. I might have helped his plane survive a lot more than trying to focus on ships and harassing them.
Planes, yeah. The loss of the ships early on in the game, definitely very costly for those seaplanes when they could have very successfully been used against some of the IHawks and helped keep an air corridor and bombing targets available throughout India and Gulf.
Absolutely. So we see Gots rushing his infantry towards Gyogakte that are locking horns with Habyungs.
Lots of supporting fire, lots of units going in there to kill those Yugakta, but being Marine units definitely takes some time to wear them down.
Oh yeah. And Heavy Young 90s are also Marine units comparable to the Geogokte 90.
That'll do it.
You see the MiG-29K over here, trying to look for some targets. Looks like he might have found something, but he is not. He's not trying to sink the LCUs.
I will say overall, very carefully played, very good conservation of assets, a very good mix of assets, and a very strong, just good units to take and hold the ground, take and hold the sky in terms of providing an anti-air net. Overall, just very good, steady play by the baddies, um, and a very difficult game for the FRA. It's hard when you don't have the units you might want to really hold a line, defend a line, build up forces.
Yeah,
Uh,
and not to say your team didn't have artillery, but it certainly they had more of it for sure. Between the mortars and then the K9s, like there wasn't a lot of means to really effectively counterbat all their stuff in that way. But we see somebody else going in after the Super Hornet and actually knocking it out with the MiG-31Ms. Ridiculous. The interceptors, after having several people surrender, actually managed to knock out something together. It's outstanding. Oh, we got Autumn calling for smoke, looks like.
is left, but there we go.
There we go. That's the game. All right, let's take a look at our kill lists here. Got's coming out with a lead, as well as Autumn and Bubble for the baddies. And then we've got you coming out with a small loss. Somebody else coming out with way more losses, and Navy Tuna having bled the most here.
So overall, very interesting match, very interesting clash of very different decks. Essentially three decks that were all armored or mechanized,
Hmm.
um, focusing on very good, strong assets with very good anti-air, very good control, a lot of, not a huge amount of artillery, but just enough artillery to spice things up and keep a good variation between the mortars and the K9 Thunders. Um, and all the different assets they had. Really well played, really patiently played by the baddies. They did a fantastic job, and they definitely deserved the win. Thank you to Gotts for stepping in and filling in for one of their players. Did an excellent job stepping in and just playing a very, very solid mechanized game throughout.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Gots for helping out the baddies. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward
And
to the next match with Red Brigade as well.
I am super stoked. Ever since the first match I saw them play, where they went in against the Mod Squad and played a very tight, very hard fought match.
Yeah, absolutely one
Um,
of the closest matches we've ever seen in a tournament series so far, and
Absolutely.
probably one of the closest for a minute yet.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm happy to see them work their way to the finals, and I'm very interested to see how the finals goes. I won't I won't prejudice myself by choosing who I'm cheering for.
Oh, for
But
sure, for sure.
I'm really looking forward to the match, and I think it'll be a very fun match no matter who wins. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reviewing their next match as well. For my team, really well played, really well fought throughout the tournament. Navy Tuna doing some solid armor work and just trying to do the best. Alice, thank you to Alice for coming in and joining the team and playing a solid air game, just trying to keep the airs clear, the airs, the air
The
clear,
air is clear.
the airs
The
cleared.
air is over
Uh,
there, and the air is here. Yeah.
that's the one. A little bit more coordination, a little bit more practice, perhaps, and next time we'll have to see how things go. But for this time, did what we did, got to where we got to, and I'm happy to watch from here on as a neutral observer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you at the next match. Have a good night.
Have a good night. See you at the next one.